So recently I was looking at the Deadliest Soul leaderboards for this patch, and that's when it hit me. Over 60% of the top scoring teams are running the same 3 agents.
It was perfect.
Not the ones everyone's placed in their own personal tier 0 from last season either. Season 3 is coming up and is getting ready to shift the power in a way that half the agents people told you to pull for are already starting to fall off. Maybe falling off is a little too harsh. Whatever, I built my entire list from scratch. These are the 7 agents that you actually need to prioritize going into season 3 and a few agents that you should probably skip. Are you tired of losing? Are you tired of losing those 50-50s to bullshit? Well, don't worry, big dog, I got just the deal. Let me show you a popular website that helps gamers buy more for less. Not only can you score games for less, but they've also gotten a partnered top-up services, meaning you can buy your pulls cheaper too.
Oh, that's nice.
On top of that, Aniba offers something else I haven't seen any other site do: a 10% cash back with each purchase. Now I get cheaper pulls and my money back. But wait, there's more. Using my link in the description box will get you all set up to start saving more money today. Now get out there and go pull that new character. Now, before I drop the official list, I gotta mention 3 agents that are right outside of my top 7, and one of them is arguably a top 5 DPS at just M0. But there's a catch, and I'll explain why they didn't make the cut. The first 2 agents are Jifufu and Trigger, both of which are in extremely similar boats for the foreseeable future of Season 3. They're amazing at not only being a stun agent, but also bringing some powerful tools to the team like extra decibels or defense shred. Each of them are primary off-field stunners that we can consider great substitutes for the upcoming Norma, who is apparently another fire stun agent coming in an upcoming patch. On top of that, both of these agents are currently agents that don't require a player to learn a lot to get strong results. The reason these 2 are in honorary mentions is because if a player chooses not to get Norma, both Jifufu and Trigger are able to serve every team in the game depending on what you want to play. The last mention is going to be Cecilia. I've been talking about her for over a month now and letting people know the character is cracked. At just M0, she's already what I would consider an arguable top 5 DPS, and she's been consistently putting up numbers like crazy. Cecilia has an insane amount of defense shred, she buffs other electric agents to the point of turning stunners into a sub DPS, and she effectively replaces the need for a stun agent on the team if you play her in a dual DPS setup. On top of that, Season 3 seems to be phasing away from rupture-focused enemies, which opens the door for more anomaly and attack agents to hit the scene. The thing most people aren't really pointing out is that Cecilia works with any electric agent to satisfy her conditions, not just an attack agent like Seed. She's an incredibly flexible agent given the right player conditions that only get stronger with vertical investment. With all of that out of the way, let's jump straight into the top 7 agents that should perform exceptionally well heading into Season 3. In no particular order, I'll start off with an agent that should be fairly obvious based on everyone's experience in the meta so far: Dylin. She is currently the epitome of what every stun agent wants to be in the game. The fact that her impact is enhanced by her crit rate encourages high damaging builds. She drops a 30% stun damage multiplier on top of stun enemies thanks to her malicious complaint. She increases her own crit damage by 50%, along with boosting the damage of the entire team by 40%, and she has specific additional damage attributes depending on if you're rocking an attack or rupture agent on the team. She even brings something that no other character in the game provides: a free ultimate. Every time Dylin uses her hold, basic, or chain attack with enough positive reviews, she can forward a free ultimate to any agent on the team. A free ultimate to any agent on the team. That is cracked. Oh, and I guess I also forgot to mention the fact that she stuns consistently fast and plays nice in almost every team she's a part of. Dylin is an absolute monster right now, and I don't see that changing at any point in the future of Season 3. The only problem is you can only use Dylin on one team per in-game mode, meaning you absolutely need a strong second stunner like Jifufu or the upcoming Norma. After Dylin, the next agent is one that every free-to-play player needs to hear about: Lycon. Why? Because he's a standard S rank that you literally have 6 mindscapes available to you over your account's entire lifespan for free. And with the potential unlock he just got, bro went from Ellen only to running with Arya the Magnificent. I don't know why I came up with that name. Lycon increases his own daze application, shreds the ice resistance of anyone he kicks by 25%, and increases the damage they receive from every other attribute by 30%. His new kit change even gives him reverse quick assist too, opening up the door for him to run more supportive builds like Astral Voice. But the big change that really helps him keep up with the team performance is the new Encircle Prey state they gave him. It basically turns him into a pseudo off-field stunner, allowing him to function as a puppet style character for a brief period of time. And he increases the stun damage multiplier by 35% when his additional passive is activated. Coincidentally, just so happens to be set up perfectly for anomaly agents. Unfortunately, his mindscapes are not cracked, and to be fair, they shouldn't be, but each of them push him closer and closer towards becoming a stronger sub DPS, similar to the other stun agents I mentioned earlier. There's even a mindscape that lets him gain a shield just for kicking an enemy in the chest. From a free-to-play perspective, Lycon is an outstanding stun agent to have on your account moving into Season 3. Now, if this list is helping you plan your pools for Season 3, do me a favor and hit that like button. It actually helps me out way more than you think. After Lycon, there's Lucia, and I'm gonna be honest, Lucia is just a glorified stat stick. That may change in the future, and I'm not denying how much she improves Rupture agents, but I genuinely believe Rupture is phasing away from the meta and becoming less of a focus. Because of that alone, it's hard for me to genuinely say Lucia is going to see a substantial amount of strong performance in Season 3. However, I do understand just how dramatic she is for Rupture teams. If we include her W engine, just by adding Lucia onto the team, you can gain anywhere from a 20 to 30% performance difference alone. That's not including any random tech that may exist for the character, it's just by replacing her over Pan. So yeah, Lucia is amazing for Rupture. Now here's some math that made me consider not recommending Lucia. With the new defense set and the fact that we don't have insane Ether Veil buffs anymore, that performance number drops to less than 15%. If we take into consideration a free-to-play player only has so many pulls, and the fact that Pan is currently performing well over the maximum results to clear the end game, you really have to question whether or not you need Lucia over Pan versus want Lucia over Pan. So should you pull Lucia? If Rupture is your main team, absolutely. She's a dramatic upgrade. But if you're free to play and Pan is already clearing your Deadly Assault, that 15% improvement costs you an entire banner's worth of pulls that could go towards Dylan or a stronger DPS. I can't do it for you, so you have to decide if that juice is worth the squeeze on your account. Nangong Yu is the next agent I want to talk about today. I don't have too much to say, but I will because this character is just busted. A stun agent that basically does every other role in the game very well. A stun agent that's based on anomaly, has her own polarity disorders, extends the stun window just like Lighter does, and holds the current record for the fastest stunner in the game. Or maybe that's still Chingy. I don't know, somebody test that. She's basically Cell from Dragon Ball FighterZ. I honestly can't believe she made it out of the beta server with everything in her kit. And if I'm not mistaken, they tried to nerf her right before live and she's still came out busted. Then again, I guess we shouldn't be surprised about a stunner that increases her own anomaly buildup rate by 35%, her days by 20%, and the whole squad's damage by 25%. She manipulates her partner's original disorder damage to gain an additional 25% disorder damage on top of the enemy's head too. And if I remember correctly, there's a 30% stun damage multiplier sitting in her core passive. Oh, and her W engine is just busted. Overall, it's easy to see why she's so highly valued by a number of players in the game. It's damn near impossible to go wrong when it comes to Nangong Yu. Now here's where I need you to pay attention because the next two agents on this list are basically the same role and you only need one of them. Let me break down which one fits your account. So for the sake of saying this as clearly as possible, Arya or Promea. Both of these agents are insane anomaly DPS right now and can easily compete with one another for a top 5 spot. Each of them are the new feature of Bloom focused DPS, which is just a different type of anomaly based damage. What separates them from each other is that Arya is more of a hyper carry style unit. She does all of the damage herself and doesn't really concern herself with other anomaly agents on the team. She throws peach bombers against her opponent, cracks corruptions, and then blooms for the next gazillion seconds. She loves a stun agent and a support on the same team. So that's Arya the solo carry. But Promea on the other hand does care about another agent being able to consistently trigger their own anomalies alongside her. And depending on your account, one of these is clearly the better pick. So while she's still in a bloom based DPS, she needs disorders and other attribute counters to refill her resources and continue dishing out damage throughout the fight. So both of them essentially execute the same playstyle, but take a different path going there. They also have great free-to-play options between the two of them, strong disk drive builds, and great team options. Albeit Promea does lean more towards the premium side of teammates to fully draw out her power, Arya is a lot more free-to-play friendly given her tendency to not care about disorders. Let me not forget that Season 3 introduces the new Wind attribute, which will excel these type of mono anomaly DPS to a brand new level. Any agent that doesn't necessarily depend on disorder to draw out their full damage capabilities is going to love the new Wind attribute. If you have either of these agents currently in your account, you're about to blow through Season 3 without a problem. Continuing the anomaly train, we have Yuzuha. She's pretty much become the staple of anomaly teams as a support, and even if they did release a brand new anomaly support, it wouldn't reduce Yuzuha's overall effectiveness on a team at all. On a base level, Yuzuha brings up to 1200 flat attack, a 15% damage increase, another 20% damage increase if her additional passive is active, and a 20% damage bonus towards disorders specifically. Oh, and she copies the element of whatever anomaly you tell her to on the team. That's a lot of buffs for a semi-auto play character. She has some tech like triggering free chain attacks without meter in the middle of a stun window, which we love, and the strongest defensive tool in the game being the umbrella parry, aka Tanuki Cloak. Her support builds are fantastic. Her W engine options have gone from Sig dependent to being the best Weeping Cradle user on the planet, and she works with every single anomaly agent in the game. Yuzuha is by far one of, if not the most impactful support agent to have going into Season 3. The Tanuki owning brat is literally insane. Then finally, I saved the best for last. I know this is going to come as a massive shocker, but I've done some early testing and I want to let you guys know the results ahead of time. That plus she's my girl, and this makes me excited. And before I jump into this, please take this as a massive watch list moment. As of right now, unless they completely undo how the Wind attribute works, everything I'm about to say should be true for the remainder of Season 3. The final agent I want to talk about is Jane. Yes, that Jane, our first S-rank physical anomaly agent that showed us just how broken anomaly could be in the early versions of 1.1. She's still the only character in the game that can score critical hits on anomaly attacks, and it's on the strongest single hit anomaly attribute in the game. She's still one of the fastest DPS we have, hits hard, and her kit is jam-packed with an absurd amount of get out of jail free cards. Unfortunately, Jane fell off hard once we were introduced to heavy HP inflation, new anomaly DPS like Miyabi, and almost 8 months of no strong matchups she benefited from. Not to mention, Jane is one of, if not the only agent that's still compared to an A rank to this day. If you've been around the community long enough, I'm sure you've heard someone say, if you have Piper, there's no point in pulling or building Jane. Well, now I'm happy to say, going into Season 3, that should no longer be the case. At this current moment in time, we all know that Jane forces any assault on her team to crit. We discovered that it wasn't just Jane's assaults that can crit whenever Alice originally released, and once players started testing their vertical investment, we learned that the M2 version of Mono Physical was one of the strongest teams in the entire game. Now, with Wind coming into the game, Jane has some special gimmick that lets her core passive activate on the Vortex effect. To our understanding, what's supposed to happen is once Windswept activates, Vortex replaces the original disorder that would have happened, and the original attribute counter would just keep repeating with each trigger. This is pretty standard. Since the game reads whatever the original damage is, this currently means whenever Jane pops an assault, which is guaranteed to crit by the way, the extra instance of Vortex anomaly will also crit. Too long didn't read, Jane gets 2 instances of critical hits. This is by far one of the most disgusting things I'm excited to experience if they leave it in the game. So let's pretend that this interaction with Jane and Wind isn't going anywhere. Why I have her as my most anticipated sleeper agent going into Season 3 is because Jane is currently one of the free limited S ranks in the game. If you lose 2 50/50s on an M6, that's a free Jane. Now I understand that this isn't something every free-to-play player is in a position to do, let alone a new player, but that doesn't omit the fact that it exists in the first place. Original Jane owners are absolutely in this position, and that's who this message is for. The fact that any player has the ability to snag an M2 Jane with the current information we have about how she interacts with Wind is huge on principle alone. Jane is the only one that currently holds this interaction. Even at M0, previous Jane owners are still eating good with this Wind interaction. She probably has the biggest buff coming. Now, I'm not saying to go out and preemptively pull Jane on her rerun, but if you have her, I feel like you catch my drift. And that's the full list. 7 agents that should dominate Season 3 and a few that might not be worth the investment depending on where your account is at. If you have any of those agents, I believe your account is going to be in a better position than most. The more you have, the better, obviously, but it doesn't mean you need them. Always remember that Zenless is one of the few games that rewards skilled play, and skill typically beats out improper gameplay. At the end of the day, do whatever you want. I'm just sharing my perspective so you guys have more to think about. Now, if you want to hear more about my opinions on how I value all of the characters in Zenless Zone Zero, you can watch this tier list video right here. Until then, I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Smell you later.